And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, the Venerable Punnaji. He's a researcher of the original teachings of the Buddha and has served in North America as a teacher of Buddhism and a meditation master for nearly 30 years. He has spent more than 50 years studying both the theory as well as the practice of Buddhism. He is well-versed in Western science and medicine and has a thorough understanding of comparative religions, philosophy, and psychology. All of this knowledge has greatly enriched his interpretations of the original teachings of the Buddha. Venerable Punnaji's topic today is Buddhism for Life. Please welcome Venerable Punnaji.
I'm very happy to see you all this morning, and I'm very privileged. I feel honored to be invited to speak a few words here today. When I began to think about this topic, I realized that throughout my efforts to understand religion and what it means, I found that there are no many religions in the world. There is only one thing called religion. And all different religions are different ways of looking at this thing called religion. Different cultures have developed different ways of looking at religion. In the West, we have mainly three kinds of religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And all these three religions are based on one Bible. And they are all called monotheistic religions, believing in one God. I have been trying to understand what people call God, because in our religion we don't speak about this word God. But I began to realize that it is incorrect to say that Buddhism is an atheistic religion. Because we do have a concept of God. Although Buddhists don't know that. Even Buddhists don't know that. Because when we use the word God, we mean three important things. This God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good, all-loving. Those are the three important attributes of God. The idea of creator is not the essential meaning of God. Although the theistic religions in the West see God as the creator, many philosophers in the West have asked the question, if this creator was God, then that creator must be all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good. If that is so, how can there be so much suffering in the world, unhappiness in the world, crime, wars, dishonesty, all the evils in the world? How did that come from? There is no proper answer. And therefore, some philosophers have said, God is dead. You see, when we look at this from a Buddhist point of view, God cannot be the creator of the world. For the Buddhist, God is not the creator of the world. God is a human concept. God is a human concept. And it is the concept of perfection. Perfect in knowledge, perfect in powers, perfect in goodness. And this concept of perfection becomes an ideal to realize. And religion is the effort made to reach that state of perfection. And when a human being, through this struggle to become perfect in knowledge, perfect in powers, perfect in goodness, and when this human being ultimately reaches the state of perfection, he is called Buddha. That is the meaning of Buddha. All Buddhists believe that the Buddha is all-knowing, all-powerful and all-good. So that the Buddha is not seen as an ordinary human being. Buddha is a superhuman being. Today, we have this concept of Superman. But that is a fiction. But if you read the sutras, if you read the Buddhist sacred texts, you will see that Superman was a reality. And that Superman was the Buddha. And not only that, the teaching of the Buddha is really the evolution of the human being to the level not only of Superman, but even going beyond Superman to become a Buddha. Now, when we think of Superman, we are only seeing certain powers of Superman, like flying in the air and things like that. But the Buddha has been teaching how to gain these psychic powers. If you read the Buddhist sutras, you will see that the Buddha has taught his disciples how to gain certain psychic powers, like even walking on water or plunging into earth, like plunging into water, or to travel through doors and walls, and even travel in space, not as the traveling of the body, like a body floating in the air, but changing the body into energy, and the body vanishes here and appears in another place. Like what you see on these Star Trek movies, where a person vanishes from one place and appears in another place. So that way you find certain psychic powers, not only that, but powers of even recalling past lives, seeing how a person dies and is reborn in another place, to read other people's thoughts, to hear sounds that are not normally heard by people. So these psychic powers could be realized. And not only that, the highest point is where the human being evolves to a level where the human consciousness reaches a state where the human consciousness awakens from the dream of existence. We are all dreaming. We are all asleep. We are not fully awake. This is what the Buddha points out. So the evolution of the human consciousness is a conscious process, not an unconscious process. Now, biological evolution was all unconscious. But the evolution of the human consciousness has to be consciously done. And that is what the Buddha taught. And by evolving consciously, we can gain these psychic powers. Now, even modern psychologists are aware that we have a thing called an unconscious mind, and the conscious part is only like the tip of an iceberg. And there are so many powers of the mind that we are not aware of. But the Buddha became aware of all these powers, and he gained these powers. And not only that, he also taught his disciples, and many of his disciples gained these powers. And then he went beyond that and awoke from the dream of existence. Today there is a philosophy called existential philosophy. But these existential philosophers saw the problem to some extent, but they were not able to solve the problem. The most famous existential philosopher was called Sartre. He became ultimately a Marxist. So that is how he thought that existential problem could be solved. The existential problem was that every human being is aware that we are existing. But we are also aware that every individual has to die. And that produces anxiety. We don't like to die. And this is why all religions are really seeking eternal life and eternal happiness. Why do they seek eternal life and eternal happiness? Because they are faced with death and unhappiness. Because everything is impermanent in this world. But our mind is seeking permanence. This is the problem. And this is the problem that the Buddha saw. And what he saw was that this search for permanence is unrealistic. We are seeking permanence in an impermanent